Hey guys, today we're going to be looking at ranked Cypher setups on Haven, and talk about his playstyle on this map. First let's have a look at A site. There are tons of good cams for this site, so I'll show you them first. So come out this window, and you want to place it as far right as you can. There we go. That's still right enough as you can see. So come out a little bit more. There we go. So that's got a lovely view of sight, and that's quite hidden behind these bits of rock. Next you can come out on this window ledge, just face this wall and walk along. And you can put a camera up here. There we go. This gives a view of B, A-Link, and also the site as a whole. There's another one from the window. You can place it on this beam. It's a bit tricky to place. You have to be jumping to do it. You can see, but it's not placing. There we go. That's a bit dangerous because if you fall you'll take full damage. Another lovely view of sight, bit less obvious than that one maybe. You can also jump out of this window onto this box to get more places. Like that. I tend to put it up here if I'm doing this, because this gives you a little view of sewers as well as the whole site. If you're having to retake a site, there is a place in the wall that you can place the cam to see all of the site. So come onto this box and jump off it whilst placing the cam on the wall. This gives you a view of the full site. You can't quite see if someone's hiding in this corner, but you can see just here. Next, let's talk about tripwires. My tripwires for this site are really simple. I just want to cover both entrances. So there's this one, and then this one. Not only will this slow a push early in the round, if the enemy sneak back after pushing a B site and rotate to A afterwards, these will notify you, so even if you're somewhere else on the map or dead, they'll still let you and your team know that the enemies are pushing this way, because this one's actually a little bit low, so you want to place it a touch higher. They can't get past this, they can't jump over it, they either have to use an ability over it, where you can use your cam to watch them, or they have to destroy it or trigger it, so you'll know if they pushed into sight. Similar with this one, can't jump over it, you have to use ability to get past it. As well as the tripwires, the cages are super simple too. I put them there, and there. These are just to sort of slow enemy rushes normally, or if they get caught in the tripwire you can trigger it and shoot them through it. They won't have line of sight on you, so they'll be an easy kill as they'll be highlighted. A slight alternative to this one is placing a cage here. This is especially good if you're playing in this corner with a shotgun, say waiting for someone to come out of sewers, but your tripwire trigger's there. You can use this to get into sight. If you're here obviously and they round the corner and you have a shotgun, you're screwed. One decent one-way smoke on A site on Haven, go into this corner here and you can aim anywhere along this beam and just throw it up, or like there. So this one you need to be playing up in window for it, so using camera or whatever to watch it, and you can see the enemy's feet as they push up pretty much the whole way back. From their position they can't see window at all. Obviously they can push this way, hopefully you'll catch them as they're rounding this corner and you'll be able to see them and pre-aim them as they're coming this side. Right, and I'll show you what I do in a general round. I'll put my camera down, jump down, do the rest of my setup. So then at the start of the round you want to either be playing here or here, because you can listen to see if the enemies are pushing into A main. You can see your ring, you can hear on the minimap. You'll be able to give your team calls, early calls, especially if you're holding your sight by yourself, because you want your teammates to be able to rotate and help you. So if you don't hear anyone, I'll tend to move back to this area, because from here I can watch sight with my camera in case they're sneaking this way. So I'm also close to B in case they rush B and the person on B needs help. So yeah, playing in this area. If they do rush into sight before you can do anything, you can just go up into heaven. If I do hear them, depending on what gun I have, I'll either play in this corner if it's a short range gun, or I'll play in the middle of sight here, as you can easily cover both entrances. So if someone's there you can take them out and then come this way. Just make sure if they are rushing, activate your cages just to stall them for a little bit, so your team can rotate and help you. One thing I will say though, is if there's a 5-man push, don't feel like you have to try and kill everyone, because even if you get 2 kills and die, this site's pretty easy to hold with 3 people. So you'd be much better served using cages to retreat out of sight, and waiting for your team to back you up, and you can be out here, giving calls on your camera. People are pushing in from heaven, or A-Link, and you're much more worth to your team there, even if you'd killed 2 people. So yeah, consider that before taking challenges of loads of enemies. This is my favourite site to play on Haven, but don't be afraid to mix it up between A and C, because you want to be keeping the enemies on their toes, and if they know you're playing on this site every single round, they'll just target the other sites, because they know that you have it locked down. Another thing is, don't be afraid to rotate away from your setup. Of course this is where you're strongest, but you're actually set up for a retake later on in the round if you have to. So if the enemies are pushing B, or even C at this point, don't be afraid to rotate and help. Because say if they are pushing C, your teammates at B may well have rotated to C to help, and then someone might try and sneak through mid to flank them. So don't be scared to come and hold B, and just check your camera every so often just to check no one's pushed into sight, although your tripwires should tell you if they're coming. Let's look at C site now. I'll include garage in this, because this is sort of a lane into C site, so I'll normally do a defense of both C site and garage. A good garage cam is on the wall here. You can place it easily up here, but you can't really place it that high up. It gives you view into mid and garage. If they keep on seeing this one, put it on the back wall. Lets you see them as they enter, and hopefully they won't see it as it's behind them. Or you can place it in light here, which sometimes isn't spotted. Oh, isn't spotted because of the lights. I mean, it's not that unobvious, but still. Or I also tend to tripwire here, just because you can place it before the round starts. You can now place it off this thing. You want to place it a little bit lower. Yeah, because that top one's too easy to duck under. Or you can just place them in the door in general, just so you know about them pushing. I then normally put a cage here, and to finish my setup, I'll put my tripwire here, and a cage here. This is just to let you know if they're pushing up C long, or if they're rushing up C long, it will slow them down. And this one's if they rush into garage, and you're playing in this area, you're screwed if they're pushed into garage. They'll just hold your angle and you can't move out of this area. So they'll either wallbang you through this, or double push you. This one lets you rotate further back into sight. So yeah, if this is my setup, I tend to play in this corner, because then if they come here, I can quickly swing and kill them. When they trigger the tripwire, I'll also trigger the cage as well, just so they can't see me. And if they're caught here, you can push around and kill them, especially if you've got information on your camera in garage. You can either give calls to the person on window, or you can just push around and swing on them. If you want to use your camera in C site instead, you can come up here, and you want to be placing it just here. Let's see if we can get it. Yeah, just on that little bit, just past the light. This gives you a view of anyone crossing C long, as well as giving you a bit of view into garage, as well as the whole site and the default plant spots. It's also super high up on the wall, so they shouldn't spot it as they come around the wall and check this corner. From their position, it's pretty well covered by the beams, even though you can still see them, although if they're all the way back here it's pretty obvious, but no one ever really stands here. Either that cam or the cam and garage are my standard cams for this site. I don't really like the other ones as they're pretty obvious. So there are a couple of one-way cages for this site. So come into this corner, aim in the middle of these leaves, like that. This one isn't as good as the cage here, because it doesn't block line of sight fully, and you have to be in this corner if you want to use it. Let's buy a gun. And you have angles on their feet as they walk up. The only problem with this is that you have to be playing in this corner, as they can either use utility to push you out of it, which will make you an easy kill, because you're in the open, or they'll just kill you with the utility. Especially with that side of the cage, where you're revealed if you're in this area of sight. So only use this one every so often. Maybe if you only have an operator, and you get one-shot kills and they won't expect it, but don't use it every round. The second spot is really good, because it does the same blocking line of sight as the cage on the floor. So come into that corner, aim there. So it blocks line of sight here, but really if you're using this cage, it's for if they're pushing out and you're over here. So you can see their feet as they push out. You want to activate it as they're just pushing around the corner, and you get the kills on them easily. So you can watch and activate it with the cam. One thing I see in C-site a lot is challenging this angle, which you don't really want to be doing. Maybe if you're holding it with an operator at the start of the round, but once you've let it for long enough that the enemies can be in this position, if you peek it, they have such an advantage on you. I either wait for them to push into sight, or use this angle. You can use it back here, or come up here, like this. if you are playing back in site and they're not pushing this way, make sure you rotate back to mid and help the team at B. Or you can go and help at garage, either or, because maybe the garage player's gone into B and you can come and take their position and use your counter watch site, as well as making sure no one's coming into garage. It's similar to A site though. When you're holding C, don't be scared to rotate away, because the only way they can sneak in is if they use their abilities. And hopefully you catch them on the cam anyway. But just holding down where your utility won't always benefit the team that well. You need to be really flexible as Cypher player. Finally, let's talk about B site. I really don't like defending this site as Cypher. I would say rotate between A and C, don't really bother with B site, unless it's really necessary. The best tripwire for this site, for blocking people coming in, is this. They can't get into sight at all like that. If they keep on destroying this one, you can just block either side of the doorway. Obviously these two. But there's still lets them plant here. Or you can use slightly tricky to find, and then one off here as well. There we go. So those two do the same job as these one, just slightly further in sight. I then use my camera. The camera's actually okay, so you can place it here. This gives you a little view into sight, but lets you see if they're setting up on either side of the doorway. And then my cyber cages, really standard. One in the doorway here, one in the doorway here, or I'll keep that one in my pocket depending. This one's obviously just slow enemy pushes. This one, if the person in garage gets overwhelmed and you're playing at the back of sight, it's pretty dangerous if they swing this corner, so you can just activate that to let you get into a better position or move out into A-Link. When you're playing ranked on Haven as Cypher, I'd say swap between A and C site every few rounds, as B site doesn't really get the most out of your utility. It's much better for a Sage or someone who can flash mid to challenge pushes into courtyard to play there. That being said, don't be afraid to rotate and help your teammates at different sites, because your back's well covered by all your utility. So if you're in A site, don't be afraid to come and help in B, same with C site. I made a ranked Cypher guide for Ascent as well if you want to check that out. It'll be on the end screen. I've also made tons of Cypher content on my channel, so check that out too if you want to learn more. Thanks for watching!